know what Heroic we have. You get a real taste of this in a UL, where you'll have them on one play day will be all, and one play day will be nothing. It's not really a known thing until you get into a server with Heroic. Until you get into the lobby, what Heroic do we have? We do not have Ossa, a very fair ban on Border. She does see a fair bit of play, especially in sort of taking some of the longer angles. Border is paper thin, that's how we found best to describe it. Think of it, if you are fresh and back from not being in Siege Comp for a while to watching it, that it plays a little bit like Coastline. You'll go from setting up outside, trying to find the angles, piecing things together, and putting an execute together right towards the site within about 10 feet in 10 seconds.
All right, so Liquid starting off on that defense is going to be ending up that ban phase as well. Thatcher and Mira were removed by them. Pretty decent and standard bans coming through. Nothing really out of the ordinary from that. Also, you mentioned it, good operator to remove Azami and Architect. So overall, nothing funky coming through here from these two teams. We're starting off on Bathroom Tellers as the very first site to head to. Team Liquid wanting to throw an odd one here, maybe see if they can instantly lead on with a defense win like this.
I mean, I think that's the thing about the Bathroom Teller site, is you'll often see it as a second choice for a huge amount of teams. You've sort of seen it grow in, obviously, presence. It used to be Armory, down to Vents, and then wherever you thought the Gambit could be. Here, with how you get a little bit more structure that you can sort of set yourself above, there's a little bit more solid, and there's some angles you can build on that back line of the bathroom. It becomes quite important as a section of territory to hold.
It is, and it is quite difficult to take under control. Now, we do see the K-Class on the board as well, being brought out by Resets. It's going to be making sure that the hatch stays closed into Tellers. Due to the lack of a Thatcher, they need to bring different utility to deal with it. Now, there is impact EMPs, but they're not being brought out by Heroic as we speak, and that means that the grenades will most likely have to do the job if they do want to open up that hatch. So maybe we just get a completely different kind of take from Heroic where, you know, they'll just focus mostly onto the ventilation and workshop area and then try and push it forward like that. Joom.
What's the start? Well, it might not be one that you're the first point of conflict. Look at this, all the way through, right towards the back line of the bathroom. I talked about its importance, and here Mello wants the same thing. He's trying to isolate the single player that's just got to rotate out of there. The softs mean they cannot quite get the direct route through. They do not have a corner to hide, so he's had to pull himself just round to the Beeper's corner. Here, Benja, he's going for the grenades underneath. Nesk suffers and gets caught out by Jew. Maybe he was the first strike. The Nook on the far end of the stair set has dropped themselves right round to the top here. There is, obviously, one player, Grizzly, on the far end. The Pulse, he should just go for that. The C4 does not quite find its way through. The Buck can't find it either. They're either side of a fight. They know each other's there, and it's Ask that comes around the corner, offers the support. Azuno suffers with the kit instead. Nook, slow creeping over the top, and you've still got the IQ rotated out round towards detention. They're going for the pinch on that player, Heroic. They tried to get a really quick strike onto the players across the board, but you can see Liquid just pulled themselves out of arm's reach.
It's the issue here, if you take that workshop under control first, you are basically prone to every single other, well, ground floor site onto the map, because everything will be able to look into it, and that is how we lost the life of Mello. So Heroic, they need to make sure that they are taking in some top floor control now. You see everybody has regrouped to do exactly that. A minute 15 on the clock. Looking to see if they can put up any pressure on the hatches. Now, the first one will succeed, but there is an electrical on the second, as we mentioned before during the prep phase. They don't really have anything currently in pocket to get rid of that. So Heroic, they need to adapt here.
You can see they're going to start closing down the space of the player inside. Lagonis is that one inside, and he suffers quite a lot. Tucks into maybe one of the few corners he can, but it is being watched. Doom on the back end is able to get a freebie there. Just catches resets on the rotate. There's a quick trade out. Benja and Lagonis find each other's head from 2 stories, and Parlu and Ask both going around on the back end. They're going for a retake. They know at this point they cannot strike the site itself. It's still open. There is one player in CCTV. Do they know? Ooh, they just got a taste, but unfortunately the full bite was for Team Liquid. The spray of Doom just outside the window. The retake's coming across the board. They're there on the rotate. It's Parlu to get it, leaving just Uno, the old vet, with 2 players, 15 seconds, and a split push here. They have his number, and Liquid have the round.
They had the right idea, right? They managed to get that control. They managed to get the frags onto the actual site, but not the knowledge that the site was clear. Heroic took a little bit too long. Did not know what those last 2 players were on Liquid's side. unable to find themselves at a position where they could have gone for the plant and maybe go for a different round outcome. So well clutched out there by Team Liquid, still able to turn it around even though everything started to shift against them. That puts them 1-0 up. Heroic though, deadly, they're sharp. Joom especially able to put some good kills on the board early on. That is something you'd like to see as a Heroic fan, that he continues that, well, not quite almost back-to-back as he had against Sandbox, but at least still finds the kills necessary to open up the site.
Liquid hold on though. I think that was chaos. That was border. That was it in a sort of nutshell there. It went from 0 to 100 very quickly, and then it never really slowed down. There was always a bit of movement, maybe about a 10-second period in and amongst all of that from when the first action started towards a little bit of a breathe, and then it started up again. But even then, it's just this consistency of trying to find each other. There's the rotates coming around on the back end, on the sort of central metal stairs. You've got the movements of the pulse inside being hunted from 2 different angles, and someone just suffering because of angles opened up. That's border.
And there's that danger. Everything can almost see everything. And you mentioned it before many times on different casts as well. It is so paper thin. You can be inside and suddenly you can look all the way to the end of the map if you find yourself with the right walls opened up. And you have any opportunity to do so. Carrying around that big K-burst, taking out some black eyes early on just to make sure that there is going to be no information game he can, well, be victimized by. I like this castle barricade, by the way. And he's pushing tellers into the lobby area, allowing him to go for a bit of an extension, a bit of freedom of movement as well.
Heroic. They're holding themselves outside the building a little bit longer, apart from Jew, who's inside, gets one. There's a C4 instantly back, and well, here we go once again. Joom, he's creeping around the corner, sees the side of a Malusi and gets the drop inside Fountain. He's cut the defense in half. Does he know there's players to his right-hand side, or does he even care? He's looking towards the side. They come around the back, and he should care now. A 3 versus 3. Resets. He's able to bite his way back in, but without the support structure, there's nobody else to get an instant response to that Fountain player. They're tucked on the corner, but they are long gone. And they're even further gone. The drop down, the rotate round to where these castles were before. Lagonas now has a bit more of a room to stretch his feet and see if he can prowl underneath.
Bit of a dangerous move there from Joom. I mean, he managed to pick up the 2 kills, but maybe went a bit too aggressive there, right? Trying to find even more fights. I get it, you want to live on that momentum, not give them an opportunity to reposition. As Palu finds one more, it's Benjamin with a double kill himself, leaving it only up to Palu now. One of the most deadly players in the league, he will find one. Only up to Benja now. It's a 1v1 situation. Benja has been in many of these before. He's clutched out many as well, but he's getting spotted out. Takes a little bit amount of damage, but he still lives. Palu's going for a bit more of a passive approach right now. He does not want to go for another peek.
You say that as he swings past, rotates and moves. The grenade underneath. Just misplayed there. Almost caught the player out on the rotate. The second. Oh, it's a bit too short as well. Palu, he's an old hand. He knows where to be. The pre-fire onto an angle. He doesn't quite know that he slipped his way past old intel. Palu gives the game away. 30 seconds. Benja's going for the rotate. He's instead going to hit a bit of a wider fight here. Go for a slightly different angle. This was always an option. Just missed the edge of a player. Palu gets the breath. And that is a big blow here. Benja knows he's got to try and hunt this fight. He cannot get that kit placed. Palu is too close, too eager, and too aware of this engagement. And Benja's got to force it again. Sees the man. He's made the decision. The pings are hot. He's going to hold it off for now. There's the pop-up. There's the pop-down. The swing round. Palu wins it out.
Again, Palu, one of those old guns in the game, but one of the most deadly ones as well, ever since he started playing Siege. And it is just so difficult to beat a man like that in that 1v1. He is so experienced. He knows exactly what to do. But now to come back to the point, Joom getting those 2 early openers, it's great. And he wants to lean on the back of that momentum that he's just built up for the rest of his team. But he finds himself stuck between 3 Liquid players at that moment in time. There's no coming back out of that alive. And if there's no support coming in from the rest of your team, you will just find yourself shut down. And the advantage you just built up, just thrown away again. So maybe they need to put him back on the leash a little bit, right? You get those opening kills, but then you start playing with the team again because we need you to force and keep control of our man advantage.
Benja and Doom showing up, but unfortunately on slightly different rounds, slightly different moments of the same round. It becomes something where you are still missing a little bit of that connectivity. At the same time, Palu and Ask having a big opener here. They've just had that extra little bit of help from two other players, and the structure of being on defense. The pressure of having to push is on the attackers. If it turns into a bit of a bloodbath game, as we saw expertly demonstrated there by Palu, a great defender can play a great game of cat and mouse over a small bit of territory. He just played the time perfectly. Add to that, I mean, it's Palu with the gun skill of Palu. It was a hell of a clutch, but here, Heroic, as you said, if they can try and get a little bit more leashed here as well, if they can sort of rein in the structure and rein in those gunners, just to have somebody behind them from a support structure that hasn't quite been able to connect the dots yet.
Jim again going in, hunting down these black eyes, making sure that the information is instantly being cut through or cut down from Liquid, because that is something they did definitely suffer from. Making sure you take them down as early as possible, which they are doing currently with the help of Grizzly on the IQ. Is going to be giving them some help, but Benja dies first. That's the opening kill now for Liquid. Previous 2 rounds, it was actually going to be Heroic that managed to catch them, but what you also see in the meantime is all those blue outlines, they all went downstairs, going back towards the side. Liquid does not want to stick around.
Fair enough. We've already seen how they can demonstrate a good rotate on this map. We've already seen how they can do it in the dying throws or at the start of a game. This is them playing the space. This is them with the caution and wherewithal to know this is border. The fight is everywhere at all times. It's not just a matter of sitting on the site and trying to lock it down. It's nigh impossible to have anything close to anything described as a turtle. Do they have the read on anyone here on the top? It's forcing again as the open hatch, and Doom still a bit lost. He wants to hunt, but he needs someone else for support.
That's basically what he is, right? He's that hunter, he's that lurker. He finds these small openings and turns them into massive ones. Need to find a bit more success, though. C4's coming through, not finding Uno, instantly going to be opening up that hatch just so that is over and done with. Doesn't need to worry about it anymore. That workshop now becomes a bit more, well, difficult to play in as a defender. Don't have to worry too much as Resets gets taken out by Melu and C4s are being tossed up.
Yeah, Uno suffered massively from a C4, but at the same time, Resets get caught out. Look at the hold of Lagonis there with the shotgun locked, ready to pop. At the top of a staircase, he is smoking out. He's forcing them to have to take a little bit more time, or forcing them to either rotate a bit wider or take an aggressive hatch drop. There it is. Another smoke canister and another 15 seconds wasted. There's also the follow-up of some other utility. Who's that on the back end? Do they know? Yes, they do, but it doesn't matter as Ask is able to find out Doom. Grizzly, this is a big moment for him to maybe take a fight with Nesk, and Nesk, I think, realizes it. He doesn't want to overstress and overpressure. The pings are coming through. Melo's got the call. The player's pulled off. They've only got 20 seconds now to try and breach and break onto the site itself. There's a bit of an engagement on the other side. There's still pings, but without the caution being paid by Liquid, there's nothing they can do. Lagonis swings up, gets one, goes for the chase on the player that's got the kid inside. Uno gets caught out by Ask, and Melo with 4 to find. They're all over it. It's Liquid with 3.
Liquid played this game, or this round, absolutely like a genius. They got the, no, honestly, they get the opening kill, they fall back, right? Okay, we have the man advantage. We'll play it on side happily, let them do their work, you know, let them clear out the roamers first. Then they need to go open up vertically. We can put up some pressure. We have some C4s. They do that, deal a lot of damage. Okay, they lose one person. What do they do when they lose one person? They send someone back up to the top floor, see if they can force another man advantage. It happens elsewhere. Nesk instantly falls back. He's like, okay, I don't need to go here anymore. I don't need to take a 1v3 fight. Falls back. And that way, they just keep going and pushing aggressively. There's 10 seconds left on the clock. They need to start dropping down these hatches. What do? You send someone back up to the top floor, retake that top floor control. It is such a dynamic game that Liquid is playing right here. And Heroic, they're just falling for it. They just cannot reply to whatever Liquid is doing currently. Yes, they find these kills. Yes, they bring it quite close. But the dynamic gameplay from Liquid is just a little bit too strong right now.
It's entirely right. It was perfect. It was the calls of a coordinated unit. It was the movement that was necessary. You could see the sort of deliberation coming through in just where they were. You could see the decision-making physically and how they were playing. As you put it so perfectly, they knew what they needed to do. They knew when they needed to do it, and they also knew not to overstretch that. Heroic can get in fights. It's a 3-0, sure, but In the first round, Heroic had the body advantage with about 30 seconds left. In the second, it was a 1 versus 1 30-second showdown, which started as a 2 versus 1 showdown. They're not that far away. Liquid's keeping their cool, and Heroic is losing it a little, which is why they've called the tech timeout. That third round was easily the most in control Liquid have looked. But even then, the pace of this game from them has been perfect. Heroic, the timeout has been taken. What's changed?
There's always that big question, right? Like what they're going to be able to change with a timeout like that, because coaches have different styles. Some of them will give you motivational speech, and sometimes you need a reminder of the basics. Which of it was it here? The thing is, Liquid has been playing so dynamically, Heroic hasn't been able to find an answer to it. Is that motivation, or is that maybe changing the playstyle? I mean, we do see the line coming out right now. If there is something that stops the dynamic amount of movement, it is going to be that E1D that basically stops you from moving, or you will be spotted out. So if you use that at the right moment in time, you might actually be able to punish Liquid with it.
Slightly different, more direct approach here onto the top. They're going to maybe see if they can pinch out the Valk on the far end. The Pulse is offering support, and we got a couple of pockets of C4s, which is always going to cause a bit of danger there. They're going to see if maybe they can limit some of the space. Look at this swing out, though, Ask. He went for an adventure, and June was the one that he found. Whether that was audio or a great read, either way, June did not expect it. Parlu, he's in a bit of an engagement here on CC, just slips away as Uno finds Nesk in the meantime, and Grizzly does find us. So once again on this site, the body advantage has fallen to Heroic, but they weren't able to lock it out last time. They got to come up with something different, and well, the pop through this window could turn out to be problematic.
It's not being used for now. However, there might be another player jumping right through. Lagonis has that cardiac sensor, is going to be able to give some information out to resets. But a minute 35 are left on the clock. Liquid, they need to tidy up a little bit here. Try and get themselves close. Okay, that did land. I was going to say
Ping was like in a different place.
But no, it came down on the right plays. Now they just need to play on the information game. There is going to be those black eyes, I believe, that will be guiding that Nitro cell to pop off. But they might have just heard some audio cue with the fact they opened up below. Oh, the IQ sees it as well. I
think that's the thing. The IQ saw that. They had the C4, and the Pulse actually made their presence known. But, well, there's that.
Oh, no. What? How?
I don't know.
We're literally next to each other. There's not a player there. One passes the other. Either way, it doesn't matter. It's a 3-on-3 now. It's a free kill for Liquid. This is not something that is going to be helping you Heroic, but you need to salvage this whatever the cost. The remaining Liquid players are all over the map as well, Emmy. It's just one person onto the site. You can try and overwhelm it, but you'll be having to fight all the way through these long angles that have been created by Liquid.
Okay, we move, boys, and we see if we can try and do this. The final close down, 30 seconds, and it's still an even body balance. Benja, you got to try and take some of the opponents to make up for a little bit of a slip of the left click, and it's Parlu. Oh, a great take, though, from Grizzly across the board. The smash on the wall. It's being watched, and it's watched. Lagonis has to swing around, has to drop. Resets is on the opposite corner. The C4's popped a bit early, 19 seconds, and Mello around on the back end. They're going to have to swing into the fight. Grizzly goes to try and take it and force the engagement. Mello's got to make a move. There's one. They're going to see if they can stick the kid in the meantime. They do not know. It's Grizzly pops up, though. A little bit of a loss as to what Mello was looking at the end, but Grizzly, ever reliable, needed to be there.
They needed that round right after the tactical timeout, especially after that team kill as well. You had the body advantage and you just throw it away. Maybe it was a sacrifice to the Nordic gods. I'm not quite sure, but it worked out. They got the kill. They got the round. And now Liquid is forced to make a decision because they can no longer just continue the rotation. They now have an opportunity because they lost tellers. They will still go back though to Armory. They are still going to continue that rotation. I don't think they will feel too worried as of yet either because 3-1 scoreline. Overall, they have been quite dominant and able to play into Heroic's hand. Out of it, rather. So I think they'll just continue. There's no need to panic yet. Armory, next site, top floor. Let's see what happens this time. Is June going to be cutting right into the side again, hoping to find a double kill? The last two rounds, he has been shut down quite early.
Yeah, I think they sort of started to pick up, but what is different now from Heroic is that round was the first time we saw some players get their first kill. That round is the first time that we've seen at least, I think, 2 of their team get themselves onto the kill board. They finally all have a contribution. It's more of a team dynamic. slight slip aside. I'm still puzzled entirely by what happened there. It's just a mistake. Don't get me wrong. It's just a.
It is a mistake. I mean,
but it's like.
I don't even know what they're trying to do. But
if anything, it's like, you know, that gif of the Dokubi's hands shaking in the 5 versus 1. It's just the stress of that. Look at this, though. Stress of this. June. He's over the back of seat, and the impact and the pickup from Ask. From the top rope, that's twice in a row. He's been able to get that early. There's one more. Benja gets dropped as well. The Valkyrie causing problems here for Heroic on the top rope. Is he going to get a third? He takes a bit of a scrape from him and he pulls himself back. He's not going to overextend entirely into Grizzly. They're trying to find the fight. They know that there's probably going to be a Liquid player coming on them soon.
Quick push attempter, quickly shut down by Liquid, able to find that 2-body advantage as well. And this is exactly what Liquid is hoping for. They can now start falling back, play a bit more passively, try and figure out where the rest of Heroic is going to be coming from without really having to throw themselves into the mix. There's still going to be a Black Eyes up, there's still going to be a Bulletproof and default cams all around, so plenty of information to be gained. And Melo does have a vision onto the Oryx here, but what are they going to do about it? Right? They need to be synchronizing the push if they want to be taking him down. There's no one up above, I believe, to toss a grenade in. So there needs to be a different way they're going to be clearing out that player. And I think the way they have to do it is by just pushing it from 2 different sides at once. But that is going to be almost setting you up for a guaranteed loss of life.
Wow, can they try and work a bit of magic here? They're looking at a pretty locked wall and a locked appearance, Uno, with the kit and the rotation round underneath, and this still underneath played well by Lagonas, watching and waiting. There was traps that were like this set on the previous round that weren't caught, but the panic is you've got 2 less bodies and a lot less time than you did. The spray, the pre-fire, the blinds through. Melo's inside as well. They're tucked on the corner, but it's Palu that gets the C4 over the top. Looks for the next on the rotation. They slip on by. They're pushing down the corridor. Ask's trying to meet him. Nesk's the one that's there. And here we're eyeing up maybe the first flawless rounds of the game.
Again, not really too worried here on the Liquid side, but the flawless is going to be denied. Uno finds one before he gets shut down by Resets, who jumps out of the window. But Liquid kind of had Heroic into a checkmate here. As soon as you make one move, there is going to be someone ready for it. You saw it like they pinged out the player on Sandwich. Okay, how are we going to deal with this? We can jump in the window. But there is a hole being watched from underneath. You might be able to pass that, but then a C4 will follow and you'll be picked up as a result. So Heroic, they had an idea of what they wanted to go for. They had a player they wanted to isolate, but they did not know how heavily those were protected by the other play pieces that were in the pockets of Team Liquid. So they now lead that 4-1. Again, very confident, very convincing in that 1 round, so nothing to worry about on that 1 round loss as of yet. And as we move on to the next site, which is going to be the Workshop again, Liquid looking to close this off with a 5-1 scoreline. And then to lead back towards what we said during the pre-show, Emmy, if Liquid wins 6 rounds, they don't even need to win, right? Just 6 rounds. They need a point. A point, all they need. They are confirmed for the major playoffs and for the Six Invitational.
Ba, ba, ba.
So that is at stake for them, and they are getting closer and closer and closer, whereas Heroic might see their opportunity slip away based on how the other stream is handling itself as well.
Heroic, can they try and get one more before the turn of the half? I think at this point they need it. We're starting to see this struggle. As I said, Liquid, sure, one of the rounds that they lost has been in and amongst the last 3, but I think either side of that has been the best performances we've seen from their defense. They've had a lot more control. Heroic, the pressure of breaking that's on them. They're looking for the entry once again. It's been a bit back and forth, and Doom finally finds more of a positive side in the fight, but does not get the kill. He's been missing them for a few rounds. Benja on the Nook, however, is more than happy to pick up that mental. Sneaks through, takes out Nesk, and Benja is eyeing up the second, looks away at the worst possible time. No! What? He finds Palu instead. I thought that was an easy pickup for Resets. Lagonas at least is the back end of that. But what a bit of work. Melo has the cross angle from 90. And Lagonas, he's got to tuck himself a little bit closer back to sight.
Changing on the roles here allowed them to retake the entry after not having had it in 3 rounds. So that means they do have that body advantage again. It is going to be too Heroic. They just need to be slowing this down now. There's still 100 seconds left on that clock. Nothing to rush for here. You need to isolate these players. Drones are currently in the site. You see them drive around there slowly but steadily around the server racks. And once they do find out where these players are, that is when Heroic can make their next move. Potentially by using some verticality out here, which Ask tries to retake. Due to that, drone will have to fall back. So Liquid is really limited in what they can do out now.
Starts the process of trying to steady on down. There's obviously still the chance at a shotgun, putting some damage from above. Lagonis doesn't really want to risk it, though. He wants to try and have the longer firefights. Ask was flirting with danger, I think it's fair to say. He hops off there and rotates down. Lagonis picks up one. The cover at Grizzly's gone. They're able to find another body. Doom caught as well. Suddenly, will turn into a very big gambit, massively paid off. A 2 versus 2. Time still ticking away. The slight change, the cover of the flash is on the door itself. They're looking for the fight. The pings of the player, they're underneath him. He sees the barrel of a gun. Ask, he's just scratched and scraped a little bit from the door. Hops somewhere slightly different. Is caught by Uno above. 25 seconds. Lagonis, we talked about the impact and effect he's had on the roster. Can he have the biggest of all and find the 5th round here for Liquid? The drop comes down the hatch. Lagonis tucked around the corner, not blinded. They might be blindsided. He's going further and wider, and there's the kit cold. 8 seconds. Lagonis picks up sticks and heads out of there. Mello has to deep dive all the way to the back of the room. But at this point, it's all Lagonis' play space.
He played that perfectly out there. He realized the cover might not be there. The plant is going down. I just have to go for it now. And Liquid, they bring back the 2v4 into a victory for them. And that is going to be putting them 5-1 in that lead over towards the attack, where all they need for the playoffs, Emmy, is 1 out of the next 6 rounds. And that is very doable with how Liquid has been playing so far. So, what do you do as Heroic? You've used your tactical timeout. You do not have an opportunity anymore to call another. As you see right now in the play of qualifying probability, is that even if they would lose regulation, Liquid could still be confirmed based on the other results. But just a single point is enough to just finish it all off. And Heroic's probability will be going down massively to about 39%. Worst case scenario.
I see a lot of 100s on the left-hand side.
Yeah, I
of
do
my
as
screen.
well. It's quite scary if you're playing against that and you want that spot.
I mean, they need 1 round. They have a lot of attempts, and this one might have a little bit of spice to it as an opener. The Monty in the pocket of Lagonis, the swap there with, obviously, an Aruni. The quick zip up, not with the kit there, but the Candelas might cause that problem, assuming this is going to be a fight and a sandwich. Talk about a fight. There's pings on an open front door. The players just pulled away. They wanted to see if they could get a bit of a lucky strike, but Ben just suffers first and realizes it's not worth the life.
Now, the thing is with Liquid, you just mentioned it, they have the opportunity to go quick here. They also have the Monty, so they can go either methodical, they can go very quickly. They have an opportunity and range of which they can go for at this point. If there is any team in this group that can afford to throw in an alt round out every now and then, just go for a push, go for a bit of a rush, it is going to be Liquid, because all they need is 1 more round. That is what they're aiming for here. And as Paulo is finding himself down into that ground floor, he's seeing what he can do, maybe even eyeing up to use some of those grenades vertically. See if they can isolate one of those players, spot them out, get a ping through, and then let Paulo send that depth charge, make sure they find that kill. But for now, the A-bomb site completely clear. Ask just droned it out, doesn't see anybody, just someone on the half wall. If he goes for a jumping, you shouldn't even be surprised. They're going to go for a plant reverse.
I mean, yeah, Lagonis is going to see if he can stick it. The cord out. They want to zip their way up there. I think he was just stunned off. There it is, the second follow-up. It's resets up the hatch. He's looking for the fight onto Beepers. They can't get the plant the second time. The third might be the connection, but it's Grizzly. He gets one, gets dropped. Palu underneath the post-plant situation. The cover comes through. They just get the Monty, but they also just get the kit. Nesk and Palu, if you wanted 2 players in a clutch situation, they're the ones. And they're the ones left here, the 3 versus 2. Can he long arm it? He has an angle, Doom. They've got the pings. The grenade has to be perfect. It is! The diffuser goes one more time, but so does Benja. The single player left, it's Palu for his third of the round. He tucks on the corner. And he's going to go for the defuse outside the door. They can't get the angle. They're going for the fight. 11 seconds. He thought about locking the door. He has no other choice at this point. He is out of time. Team Liquid leave the playoffs group. Team Liquid are going to SI.
They have done what they needed to do, and now they have 5 rounds to lock it off. They could still go flawless in this group, win every single game. That would be a great way to head into the playoffs. A bunch of confidence heading into the team. Again, we used to call them, you know, the kings without the crown. We still do. Nesk and Palu, for example. If they are coming in so dominant into the playoffs, they might have a really good opportunity of winning it. But first, let's finish that group flawless is what they'll think. As they're up against Heroic, who needs points, whatever the cost.
Heroic. The game's not done. Day's not over. There's still obviously a game potentially going on the other screen. And there's still 5 rounds of this one potentially to play. And then some more if you make it. It's a long distance. But from what happened on the previous playday, what happened in the last of yesterday, we don't have in the start of today.
No, for sure. And Liquid really seeming to be a step above Heroic so far. Last time was 7-5, it was close. And I mentioned it, I said it, like Heroic, you might have won 7-1 against Sandbox on this map, but you're playing against Team Liquid, you're playing against the Latin American team. They know how to play this map. They love it. They'll literally tear you apart on it. And that's exactly what Liquid is doing. They're not leaving any room for error here for Heroic. Uno gets the first kill, though. That's a great start. Nesk takes tons amount of damage as well, but he manages to find his way back up to that top floor. It's not going to be the side, but it is safety.
Nesk, he's slightly battered, but not quite bruised. I mean, Palu, fair enough. I think you've earned a sit out. 10-3 has been an absolutely meteoric performance, especially with how close some of those early rounds felt. Nesk gets picked up too. Uno, bit of a grudge round, bit of a grudge match right now. They're seeing if they can still try and fish some more players out. Is he going to get a third and a fourth? It's June with the cover cross. There's the call. There's just the tail of a fourth that pulls themselves away. Lagonis driving deeper and deeper into the site itself, or across the bow of it. Reset suffers next. He tried to hop in the window, caught out. 2 versus 5, 2 versus 4. Lagonis, he is between a rock and a hard place, and both of them seemed armed to the teeth, so instead takes the rotate round.
2v4, we've seen him clutch these out before, but on the defense. He sets in Lagonis, hears them up on the top floor. They know they need to be careful for the verticality. That grenade could be massive, but Uno gets his triple kill. There's only 1 left on the clock, and it's going to be Benja that takes him down. That is going to be another round for Heroic, bringing it up to 6-2. And talking about it, every single bit of pressure is now for Liquid. They're even confirmed first in the group. That's how far they've come.
Oh, I mean...
It's like, you know, they probably still play the game to win this one, right? But it's that pressure is gone. Now Heroic is the ones that have everything to play for here. But Liquid, they can afford to go for a bit more of an experimental push here and there now, right? See how it works. See if that might be something you can pull back on for a playoffs run.
Defenders, protect your bombs from being defused.
4 more rounds, Heroic, to try and get yourself into OT and pull some points out. Liquid, I mean, you still assume that they have the ability to just push this over the line. They've played such a solid team game. Yeah. Obviously, we only had, you know, 2 tastes of their attacks in the first one. It was a huge Palu clutch. It's, as I said at the time...
It was not a 1v3, but it was kind of a 1v3.
Yeah, but like the rehearsed routes that man has run from playing this game at this level for that long, the grenade over the top, the pickup on the player on the plant, the pullback and the movement, it's something that we have complimented him on time and time again, tournament and tournament and tournament again. Even earlier on in this game, where he wins out the 1 versus 2 clutch based on his movement, his premonition of the game.
Yeah. Now, Palu, he's definitely one of the gods, or Siege, you can almost call him. Knows exactly what to do in almost every single given situation. And yes, it doesn't always work out, but most of the times it does for him. That's kind of the scary part. It's rare that you see him screw up a kind of play that he's trying to make. And that is that scary part. He's just such a consistent player. Together with Nesk, they have been like ruling the LATAM scene for such a long time.
Wow. Here's the pressure, here's the quick burst, and there's Uno to bite back, gets one, gets the second covered by Grizzly there, right on the window. They're trying to find at least one back on the top, and Ask does take care of Benja. A bit of a two-story attack and presence there. The problem is the kit's inside, and no other players really are at this point. Palu and resets. Palu it's just left Grizzly with a triple kill, buried inside the back. Now they're going to see if they can try and swing the fight round Palu. He's got some Candelas left. They went for another risk, and they do get one out the end of it. Uno, he got a little bit cute, a little bit eager with the chance at the fight on the window, but a minute 40, and, well, we still have a lot left to do, technically.
Now, Palu does have an LMG still in hand. Yes, they received a bit of a nerf, but I don't think that the LMG of Ying has taken big of a hit. The thing is, though, he doesn't have any other utility except for 2 smokes. That bit of information might have been what prevented him from jumping in that window, trying to let him find an alternate route in. Using these drones now as well, trying to isolate these players. That's one spot. That's going to be a wallbang to come through. Misses it just barely. Ping not completely on point. He's still going for it, still finds it. Brings it back to a 1v2. And I know we just talked about it. If the man goes for a clutch, he knows exactly what to do. And this one is heroics to screw up. Again, a bit of information coming through. He might be aware that the last person is up on that top 4. Checks for Capcan traps. You never know. Hume gives away his position now, so this is definitely telling Palu, hey, last one is top 4. One is going to be on side if you win at that gunfight, which he does. He might clutch out the game for them, but Doom from above has an angle towards the diffuser. Is Palu aware?
It's almost stunned silence now. He has the awareness. He has the fight. Some scratch damage done. The kit's his. He wants to fight Palu! Unquestionably, undeniably one of the best players of this game in the world. And what a man to throw the 2 rounds needed to get them there, and why not take the game as well. Team Liquid are your victors.